You're fucking responsible for this.
So, a couple weeks ago, GTA 6 came out and said that instead of getting a physical disc within, your disk drive or whatever, you were basically going to get this, an empty case. Yeah, sure, there might be artwork, sure, there might be a manual, sure, there might be a map. But when you get inside, there ain't going to be a disc. It's going to be empty. It's going to be a digital code. And obviously there was a lot of hullabaloo and a lot of people getting upset about it. They're like, oh my god, you're ruining, gaming. What the fuck? Where's the disc? And people were upset about it, but it's GTA 6. So, of course, the most hyped up game of all time, of course, makes, that kind of level of pre order sales, making over $3 billion in pre order sales, even though their physical version is technically not a physical version. In comes Sony. So, Sony follows, shortly after this announcement, being today, and says that they are no longer interested in printing discs. They're not interested in physical copies anymore. That in 2027 or 2028 January, I don't remember which, I'll put it in here, that they plan to end physical media. And that's crazy to think that physical media with PlayStation could be over. I hope to God it's not. I hope that there's enough controversy and pushback for it, but PlayStation's trying to push this as this was your choice. You guys wanted this. We were so sure that if anyone wanted this, it was our PlayStation community because we just see the growing trends. Kiss my fucking ass, bro. You don't care about your fucking player base. Kiss my fucking ass. Here's the issue with someone like PlayStation trying to go a digital only way. PlayStation has been a company that for a while has been under scrutiny for how they handle digital goods. Now, I haven't heard as much controversy when it comes to Xbox. For all I know, Xbox is really good about how they handle digital goods. I don't know. I'm a PlayStation guy. But with PlayStation, there has been, at least on two separate occasions that I have witnessed, where digital media, while it was movies, it was still purchased movies that were digital. Those purchased digital movies were removed entirely from people's libraries and catalogs. Why on God's earth would people outright trust you for digital games? It's a rental at this point. It's not a guaranteed thing. You're going to just lose the media. That's just how it is. When it comes to PlayStation, they have shown that they are willing to take away digital goods that you purchase. You will literally own nothing. So that, yes, that does give me pause when they're saying we are going to go digital exclusive. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against digital. Look at this. I have fucking over 500 something games digital. I have a ton of games in my library ever since I've been starting. Like, yeah, but I also have a ton of physical media as well. I like the option to go between either because, yes, I could download something very cheap on the PlayStation Store. I can go in right now and download Mortal Kombat 1 with all its DLC for like $12 right now. Cool, amazing deal, amazing steal. But if I wanted to, I can go on Facebook Marketplace right now with my disc version of the PS5 and maybe get Mortal Kombat 1 with DLC, maybe cheaper. You never know what people sell on Facebook Marketplace. And that's what PlayStation and Xbox don't like, is that you can go out and get your physical media technically cheaper, whether it is from stores like GameStop or it is from people from Facebook Marketplace and secondhand places. You can get your games cheaper going to somewhere else, getting a physical copy, rather than going to them and just paying for it digitally brand new. And again, I'm not against either option. I just like having the option. Sometimes I want a physical copy, other times I just want a digital copy. For instance, for me, personally, I like collecting, Marvel games and Sonic games in physical. That's just how I prefer. I like collecting Call of Duty games when they're actually on the fucking disc, but as of late, they really haven't been. And consoles have been constantly pushing towards the end of, physical media for some time. Case in point, me bringing up Call of Duty. Call of Duty has been, for the last, what feels like nearly a decade, has been releasing discs that don't really have their full game on the disc. Instead, they have a partial bit, and you have to download like 75% of the game digitally. The same thing happened with the recent James Bond game. Why would I want to, you know, go and buy a disc if the game's not even on it? That's what they want you to think. They want you to think that. They want you to think, hey, what's the point in buying a physical game if the physical game isn't going to have the full game on it? You do that for a few years. You wait until GTA 6. GTA 6 says we're not going to have a physical copy in our disc case at all. It does go-go bucks because it's fucking GTA 6. It may as well be the god for all console games, you know? And then PlayStation's like, oh, cool. You know, hey, we haven't been able to sell our disc all that well because people aren't buying them as much, and GTA just said digital only. Why don't you just try printing the game on the actual disc and seeing what people actually buy? Because I'm gonna tell you straight up, if the Call of Duties were actually on the physical disc, if these bigger games were actually on the physical disc instead of being 75% digital, I'd be buying a lot more disc, honestly. But that's what they want you to think. What's the point of buying buying physical? Let me go buy digital. And this creates more and more people buying digital. This leads into GTA 6 saying, we're not going to release a physical. And then PlayStation says, you know what? Hey, there was a downward trend with these games. You guys aren't buying physical, so, we're just going to follow GTA's trend. Yeah, if you look at it from a blank canvas view like that, sure, yeah, I guess that is technically true. But what they're not telling you is they haven't been printing their fucking games on disc for years. Like, if a game is 20 hours, most of the time it feels like you have like 3 hours worth of content on the fucking disc. And then they're like, oh, download it digital. That's not a physical game. And that's what they've been trying to do, is train all of us to just slowly get away from physical. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to be herded. I'm not trying to be herded like a bunch of sheep and go and buy only digital. If I want to buy physical, I should be allowed to have that option. As a consumer, I should be allowed to have that option if I want a physical copy of something or a digital version. And look, I have a way bigger library when it comes to digital. So a lot of people might be like, well, what's the point? Why are you complaining? Because I still want that option. I want to go and be able to buy my Marvel games if they're on the disc. I want to be able to go and buy my Sonic games if they're on the disc. I want to be able to buy my Mortal Kombat games, my fucking Call of Duty games. I want to be able to buy those things, including GTA 6, if they're on the disc. But they're not. They have been literally skipping out on fucking putting games on the disc, which is the whole point of them being physical. I'm not trying to buy a physical game for it to be digital. That applies to it being a half-ass upload to the disc or a half-ass piece of paper that's going to be in a fucking tray that's all fucking empty. What is the point? So then people are going to say, oh, well, then you have no choice but to buy digital or to buy a physical version with a code. Or, hear me out, why don't you suck my dick? This is the kind of thing that truly makes me detest modern gaming. It truly does, because modern gaming and the AAA experience has truly tainted gaming, period. I believe that the PS4 era was the downward trend for all console gaming. Just plain and simple. It's ruined everything. Let me explain. So I have been playing consoles ever since I was young. I've been playing the PS2, the PS3, the GameCube, the Wii, Nintendo, Game Boy, all the way to 3DS. I've been playing gaming for a while. In my honest opinion, the best era for gaming, this is coming from a PlayStation guy, so again, not including Xbox, my bad, is the PS2 and PS3 era. Why? It's because a lot of these games weren't trying to be, either digital-only experiences, live service experiences, gacha experiences, or half-ass printing on the DVD experiences. PS2 and PS3 were the last two real meaningful eras where it felt like gaming was gaming. There were games that felt like games. I'm going to be honest, hey, everyone is really hyped for that new Wolverine game. I still need to see more stuff. I need to play a beta, because I'm going to be honest, the gameplay trailer was mostly cutscene. It was very lackluster, especially when I compare it to something from the PS3 era like X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, of course, this is only the first reveal, and I love X-Men Origins Wolverine, the video game. So, yeah, there might be some bias, but based off of that little trailer, I'm not impressed, and this is a game that I've been waiting for since the leaks. I'll be honest, the leaks had me more hyped than the trailer that they've released. It's just how it is, because when the trailer is feeling to me like 60% cutscene, that's just the state of modern gaming. Modern gaming, ever since what feels like, and again, I know this game came out in the PS3 era, but still, I feel like Last of Us is the contributing factor as to why a lot of modern games all feel the same. I feel like a lot of games like God of War or Spider-Man or Wolverine all kind of want to chase something like that Last of Us feel. And it kind of, they want to have a big, meaningful story. They want to have, gameplay here and there, stuff like that. They all want this, like, top overhead to the little bit to the right or a little bit to the left view of your character as you're running around, and your running looks like this. Every time. When you look at something like Last of Us to Wolverine to God of War to Spider-Man, to me, they all look and feel very similar. They feel slow. They feel like they're trying to chase after gritty realism that isn't really there and really isn't needed for their games. And it just kind of gets boring when a lot of games are trying to chase this AAA, fucking gameplay narrative. And the thing is, half the time, I don't care. Congratulations. You put in a lot of effort into your story, but if your story sucks ass like Spider-Man 2 for PS5, I'm sorry, I'm not going to play it again. However, back to what I was saying, back when we got to somewhere like Last of Us and live service games, it feels like a lot of these companies either wanted to chase one of the two things, and that's all we ever really seemingly feel to get now in the gaming landscape when it comes to the two main companies. It feels like either we get these top view third-person experiences where the characters are running at human, realistic paces, and they're moving very slow. The hits are supposed to be very impactful, but again, very slow and sluggish. And, then we also have these long-spanning narratives that feel like half the time it's more cutscene than gameplay. Whereas if you go back to the PS2 and PS3 era, it was exactly the opposite. You got more game for your buck rather than movie. Here's the thing, I don't want to play a game to fucking watch a movie. I know some people are going to be like, but I love the narrative experience. I love hearing these great stories. That's great. I'm glad you do. And I'm happy it works for some people. It doesn't work for me. For me, if I had to choose between something like Spider-Man 1 and 2 or something like Spider-Man Web of Shadows and Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to choose the older stuff. Why? Because those games felt like they had more of a focus on something like gameplay rather than something on, we're just going to have 20 billion cutscenes over and over again. Sometimes, yeah, cutscenes are nice, and yeah, they look gorgeous, but when I feel like they're taking over the gameplay over and over again, I'm going to get bored. I don't care how decent the story is. I came here for a gaming experience, not a movie experience. I have plenty of movies to go and watch for that if I want that. Now, I'm not saying the games can't have a good story. I'm not saying that. They can. They absolutely can. But it feels like game companies are trying more and more to push more for narrative experiences rather than just overall fun gameplay experiences. A lot of people don't realize how good older gaming is. And this is not me just saying, oh, because older gaming is better. No, there's a lot of modern games that are fun. Hell, I play some of the live service games that are out currently. So, yes, even those games can be fun. However, again, if everything else feels like a narrative experience and all of them feel like a copy-paste, one-to-one, everyone feels the same except minus a little bit in gameplay or whatever. Your graphics look the same, your gameplay feels the same, you're having about the same amount of cutscenes. Like, I'm sorry, I came here to play a game, that's what I came for, and I'm not here to watch your movie. I don't care how much of an aspiring director in Hollywood you wish to be. I don't give a fuck. I came here to play a fucking game and beat someone's ass in Spider-Man. And again, if you go back to PS2 or PS3 era, what did we get? We got full game experiences from anything from Prototype to Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, Infamous 1 and 2, Uncharted, the series. We got all these big, expansive, huge games, all of them varying in different kinds of, quality or varying different amounts of story or cutscenes that they have. All of them vastly different, but you know what they all had in common? They all had physical media releases, and they were all fun as fuck. Plain and simple, they were just fun as fuck. They put the gameplay first, and it feels like gameplay has become a second for a lot of these people that are making these games. People are going to be like, oh, well, didn't you love, playing as Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, even if you didn't care for the story? No, no, I'm going to be dead ass. Look, hey, which arm is it? Right here. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's absolutely my favorite fictional character of all time. I love him since Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire. I love Spider-Man games. But Spider-Man 2 for PS5 is hot ass. I do not care. The gameplay is ass unless you're playing with the black suit. And I do not care for the story at all. I think the story is hot dookie, especially compared to the first one. And I did not care for Venom. Craven is okay. And the after credits stuff with Carnage and shit stinks. Straight stinks. And because of that, the story's ass. And then they also nerfed your gadgets in favor of focusing on the symbiote. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 compared to Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 is hot ass. They somehow made Spider-Man boring for me. They made this, this man, hold up, let me represent. They made this man boring for me. That's the state of modern gaming. I really wish that these games would go back to what made the PS2 and PS3 era so well. They focused on gameplay, they focused on gaming, they focused on really fun stuff rather than trying to chase this realism. That every game feels like they just have a smudge of mud put over them to make it look more realistic. It gets boring when every game looks realistic. I miss how old James Bond games were. Hey, there's a reason why they keep bringing back GoldenEye, because GoldenEye was fun. There's a reason why games like 007 Knifefire, 007 Agent Under Fire, games like those are considered classics because, they're fun. They're really fun. I had a lot more fun with those games, even more recently playing them again, than I did with the more modern James Bond game that tries to be more like Hitman. I love the combat in the new James Bond game, but that's about it. The game's slow as fuck and was boring the shit out of me. I paid $70 for that game, and it was boring as fuck. Spider-Man, we either have, decent, okay swinging that clearly his combat is trying to mimic the Arkham combat. Cool, I guess. Or I could go back to the PS2 and PS3 era and play games like Spider-Man, Edge of Time, which is honestly a fun game and way overhated. Spider-Man, Web of Shadows, which is an amazing game with amazing Spider-Man combat. Ultimate Spider-Man, which is very underrated. I could play games like that and have a much more meaningful Spider-Man experience. Hell, how is it that Ultimate Spider-Man has me swinging faster at some points than it feels like in the modern games? I really hate this whole state of either these games need to be hyper-realistic and hyper-realistic graphics and have no individuality, no fucking, own kind of design to them. And by that, I mean, if you go back to look at Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 versus something like Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7, you can see within how they make their game, there is a clear art style direction in Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 versus something like Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7, where Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7 are just trying to chase something of realism, mostly. And then Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, they have almost an arcadey shooter kind of art style. It still tries to be a little bit more real, than a other kind of game, but it's still its own identity. The issue is that if I put a screenshot of Call of Duty right next to Battlefield, right now, you would not be able to tell the difference. But if I went to PS3 and PS2 era and I asked you to do the same thing, you would be able to tell the difference between BO2 and Battlefield 4. I truly believe that. If I go and I take a screenshot from, the graphics and the people of like God of War, and I just get face photos. If I get a face photo from God of War and Wolverine and Spider-Man, and I don't show anything from, neck down, it's strictly the face models, you're going to think they're probably from the same game as well. A lot of these games feel like they're just copy-paste of the same shit, and then they just try to stretch out a story and be like, oh, well, I hope you like the story. It was like 20 or 30 hours. Guess what? I had to play through your 20 and 30-hour story, and I was bored. Congratulations, you made me fall asleep. And you know what? It's really hard to make me fall asleep because I have insomnia. All this being said, the gaming has been on a downward trend really since the end of the PS2 and PS3 era. That's at least my humble opinion. It doesn't help that now we have the most hyped game of all time coming out in GTA 6, and now it decides that you don't really need to own anything. And of course, you know, PlayStation being the copycats that they are, you know, and this is coming from a PlayStation fanboy, you know, I have fucking 3 of them in this, you know, living room. Doesn't change the fact that, you know, PlayStation's gonna go and do that too, and now, there's no point. There's no point in physical media. They're going to just kill it. You will own nothing, you will have nothing, and you know what you're gonna have? You're gonna have empty cases of mediocre games. Because what if I buy a mediocre game on disc and I want to sell it? I can't sell it now. I'm just stuck with it. So you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna make me never want to buy a game new ever again. If I'm ever even remotely going to purchase a game again after this disc thing ends, it's gonna be hardcore used, not hardcore used, hardcore on sale. I don't know why I said used. We already know it's not gonna be used. We're not gonna get that. But I'm gonna get it hardcore on sale, like with Mortal Kombat 1 being at like $10. That's where I'll get it, because that's where I feel comfortable spending my money for a digital good that I have no clue if I'll be able to keep it in 5 years from now. I do not feel comfortable spending $70 on a digital game that I have no guarantee is gonna stay with me for the rest of my tenure. That's bullshit. Whereas physical can guarantee me that. So, cheers to the end of gaming. We're just gonna get more boring slop, and we can't do anything about it. So make sure your purchases are meaningful, and I am never pre-ordering a game again in my life. So, yay.